right, to say that Lenny McAllister is new to the show as far as I'm concerned, this is the first time I've had the pleasure of working with him, is a Republican strategist, and no disrespect, of course, to everybody who puts the show together. It is a bit misleading in the sense he's also a media personality, a public speaker, an author, and a lot more. So we will see as we talk here tonight that Lenny has a lot to offer on many issues. Lenny, first opportunity to work with you, looking forward to it.
Likewise, thank you, Ellis.
All right, Lenny, first and foremost, I said during the break, I said, I think these people, I think they're going to, like, hate me. They're thinking, like, I'm upset because sometimes I put the mirror. I always felt that was my job on radio or TV. Sometimes you got to put the mirror up to us. And I'm not saying it because, you know, I hate us or anything like that, but I see things that trouble me. And I get passionate about it. And when I see us devote so much time, energy, passion to things that are unimportant, and while we focus on things that you know, we don't focus on things that are important, all of some of the things you heard me say in the first half hour of the show, I get wired up. I'm sorry.
And look, it's social commentary. That's what we're supposed to do. The bottom line is, this is a reflection of who we are. Heck, we're talking about NSA. Can you imagine the NSA folks monitoring this stuff, getting their eyes burned out by some of the things that we're searching for as Americans at a time we're going through a bad recession, we're going through all these social issues. Every time you turn around, you have a kid shooting some other kid up, or adults trying to save kids' lives at schools. You get all these things going on, and the top searches are not about ending the recession or getting this country back on track. It's twerking. So yeah,
I'm sorry. I understand that we are a country that is really not just engaged. We're mesmerized by celebrity, and that's not new.
No.
But on the other hand, with all the technologies available and all the mechanisms available right now, it has literally gotten to the point where it surrounds us, and if you allow or want, or you're pre-wired to be so inclined as to think this is the greatest, you too will dress like Michael Jackson.
Well, it's that, but also you got to take into consideration with the social media that's out there right now. You have teenagers driving a lot of these trends, and then unfortunately you have the older folks trying to keep up with the trends, and you have advertisers trying to make sure they sell to the people that are using the social media. Oftentimes it ends up being a 15-year-old that is focused on twerking, not necessarily their grades, not necessarily college, not necessarily am I going to be able to get a job once I get out of school. It's twerking and what's on the music awards show tonight.
Right, or for that matter, writing on a message board. Now, that having been said, I could have gone into some of those things because the how-to reflects that it's young teenagers, and we're here to talk about the NSA. but the how-to stuff focuses on, like, how to tie a tie. My son's asked me that. I may or
that's a dad thing.
That's exactly right.
That's a dad thing.
That's right. And I told them what Uncle Nick and my dad taught me. I thought that's the way it's supposed to work. But these guys have this, and they probably went to that as well.
You know what? I taught my son how to tie a tie, but he also goes on his phone to do it. I remember when I started out at Central Catholic in the fall of 1985. That was something your dad taught you, and then you went over it one final time on the bus so you didn't embarrass yourself.
That's right.
Nowadays, you're in the back of the bus looking on a cell phone, making sure you got it right, and taking a selfie of yourself like the president to make sure that your tie's okay.
Now, what do you think about the selfie of the president?
I thought it was ridiculous. I mean, not from a sense of what President Obama did. You know, people made it out to be such this big deal, like it was so disrespectful. You had people dancing at the celebration. This was a 95-year-old that could have been bitter when he came out of jail in 1990. Instead, he embraced healing, embraced peace, and because of that, people in South Africa and around the world celebrated the life of Nelson Mandela. One selfie, impromptu, I thought was a big deal. We made more out of that, and the handshake. Right. You know, if you're going to make a handshake with Raul Castro, that was the place to do it. And if it's going to save thousands of Cuban lives over the course of the next couple of years, so be it. I applaud the president in that regard for taking advantage of that.
Having been said, there are people who say that all this guy is a butcher, and that with other third world despots, all you're doing is basically enabling him. You're giving them propaganda. They'll paste that photo all over the world, all over Cuba, and they'll be able to say, see, we're not that bad after all.
Reagan shook Gorbachev's hand and then turned around and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And guess what ended up happening by the end of the decade? That wall came down. At some point in time, if we are the beacon of freedom around the world, We have to make sure that we take the opportunity to meet evil and meet those that will oppress freedom right where they are and give them yet another opportunity to embrace freedom and allow democracy to be global.
Now, President, I have to ask you this. When we went through this, my thoughts earlier, I thought about the part of the handshake, and I said to myself, okay, the handshake thing, he was next in line, first of all. He didn't seek this guy out.
Exactly.
There was no statement to it. Second of all, as it relates to the selfie, here's my only objection to the selfie. He had probably 300 opportunities to do it privately. I know that he was not in a true funereal setting. My dad was a funeral director. I was raised in it. I know it. This was not like that. This was a stadium celebration memorializing his life. And actually, it was a 10-day period, I have to tell you, I thought would really drag on. I found it to be very enriching. I found it to be soul-searching. I found it to be much more inspiring. That's a better word for it. So when I see this, I'm thinking, okay, I get it. You're not in a worse down atmosphere. I just would have done it in private.
I would have preferred the president not do this, but did I overreact and think this was a huge deal? No, I mean, this is President Obama. This is the guy that tweeted everybody and texted everybody who his vice presidential nominee was going to be in 2008. This is supposedly the first social media president. In fact, this is the first urban-based president. So you have a different trend in a lot of ways. And plus, you got to remember, he's trying to pull in certain voters for 2014. Doesn't necessarily hurt him with those millennials that he's hurting with Obamacare to do something like this, to be just a little cooler than those Republicans running in the midterm elections. Not a surprise. Maybe it's not the biggest political thing in the world, but it fits his mold over the course of him being in national politics.
Now that you went there to LennyMcAllister.com, I have to say that the reality is that those were the numbers that are suffering right now for him.
Yeah.
It's been the younger people that have been running away from him.
Exactly.
Interesting article this late afternoon, Washington Post. I do not have it in front of me. That it wasn't Obamacare itself that did it. There have been a number of things that have actually led to his numbers sinking to the level that they are.
It's not just Obamacare. It's the fact that this was a guy that did not have the national experience on the political scale to compete with Joe Biden, a former vice presidential nominee in John Edwards, and Hillary Clinton. He came in because of hope and change to change the tone in Washington when it came to politics. Tell us the truth, the person that was going to be the next president. Mr. 44, Mr. President, tell us the truth. And when he said, if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. And that wasn't the truth, and there was more and more evidence coming out showing that he knew that wasn't going to be the truth.
Upwards of years before.
That's credibility. And with the younger generation, once you shoot down that credibility, they're done. Now, they're not necessarily running to Republicans yet, but they are running away from Mr. Obama and the Democrats right now.
We're going to come back and run to the NSA decision that I've been talking about for an hour. Managed to not get to. I had charts to get to. We'll do that right when we come back.